Have you ever noticed how the moment you start wanting better for yourself, the people around you get quiet or weird or low key irritated? Like your growth is personally offending them? That's not a coincidence. Some people don't want you to heal. Some people don't want you to do better. Some people don't want you to rise because it reminds them that they're choosing to stay the same. So today, let's talk not like I'm preaching, but like a friend, a real friend who's been through it and came out on the other side. I'm not here telling you how to live your life. I'm not sitting above you. I'm literally talking to you the way I wish someone talked to me earlier in my life. I know what it feels like to look around and realize, damn, nobody actually wants me to win. Not because they hate you, but because your healing, your growth, your confidence pokes at their insecurities. It shows them everything they're avoiding in themselves, and instead of rising with you, they want you to sit down with them in the same old misery, but you're not built for that anymore. Hard truth. Number one, your growth exposes their wounds. When you start healing, you stop being predictable. You stop being the version of you they could count on to stay stuck. They liked you when you doubted yourself. They liked you when you played small. They liked you when you needed them. Because when you were hurting, insecure, quiet, unsure, it made them feel comfortable. It made everything even. But the minute you start believing in yourself, the minute you start dreaming bigger, the minute you start stepping into your power, you break the unspoken rule they had for you. Stay where we are. Don't grow past us. A moment that changed me. Let me tell you something from my own life. There was a time when I was surrounded by people who pretended they cared. People who always said, I want you to be happy. But the moment I started actually doing better, their support disappeared. I'd share an idea or a dream, and they'd get this look. Not excitement, not curiosity, more like discomfort. And then came the comments, who do you think you are? You're acting different. You're getting too confident. You're doing too much. But the one that hit the hardest was, you should just be happy with what you got. That was the moment I realized they weren't uncomfortable with my dreams. They were uncomfortable with their own lack of dreams. I wasn't changing to be better than them. I was changing to be better than the old me, but they couldn't handle that. And that's when I learned. When you grow, people reveal who they really are. If you feel like people around you want you to stay where they are, you're not imagining it. You're not dramatic. You're not ungrateful. You're waking up. People who don't grow mentally or emotionally will always feel threatened by someone who does. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because they're not doing anything at all. Hard truth number two. Some people want you codependently miserable. Let's be honest. Some people only know how to connect through struggle, through complaining, through pain, through being stuck. And when you start healing that part of yourself, you break the invisible bond that held you together. They want you small. They want you doubting yourself. They want you insecure. They want you questioning everything you want. Because if you rise, they lose control. They lose the emotional safety of, we're all miserable together. They lose the comfort of saying, see, no one gets out. But you're trying to get out. You're trying to break the cycle. You're trying to end what your childhood started. And that scares people who don't want to change. Healing makes you outgrow people. Here's something nobody told me. Healing doesn't just change you. It changes your relationships. When you start setting boundaries, people who benefited from you having none get mad. When you start speaking up, people who liked you quiet get offended. When you start choosing yourself, people who were used to being chosen first get insecure. Healing is beautiful, but it's also lonely because the people who aren't ready to face themselves can't walk with you to that next chapter. There was a point where I had to literally sit with myself and ask, why am I trying so hard to drag people with me who don't even want to come? I realized I was holding myself back because I didn't want to outgrow people I loved. But loving someone doesn't mean you shrink for them. And I was shrinking, hiding my growth, acting confused when I wasn't, playing small to make other people feel big. Until one day I looked in the mirror and thought, I'm not living like this anymore. That was the start of my self-belief. Not confidence, not perfection, just choosing every day to back myself even when nobody else did. Stop trying to convince people to support you. Real talk. If someone wants to believe in you, they will. If they don't, no speech you give will change that. Protect your goals like newborns. Not every plan needs to be shared. People kill dreams with their fears. Grow it quietly until it's strong. Notice who gets distant when you start winning. That's your sign, not your guilt. Build self-belief through tiny wins. Don't wait for a huge breakthrough. Stack small victories. Keep promises to yourself. Confidence comes from action, not approval. Don't shrink. Expand. Your growth is not an attack. It just feels like one to people who aren't growing. Outgrowing people is normal. It doesn't make you disloyal. It makes you evolving. Stop letting other people's fears become your limits. Just because they don't think something is possible doesn't mean it's not possible for you. Listen, growing when you have support is easy. Growing when you have no support, when people around you low-key want you stuck, when your childhood taught you to doubt yourself. That is strength. And I want you to hear something clearly. You were never the problem. Your growth just made their comfort zone uncomfortable. You're not selfish. You're not acting different. You're not wrong for wanting more. You're not crazy for believing in a better version of you. You're simply choosing to break a cycle that everyone else settled for. And that takes courage most people never touch. So if you feel alone right now, if you feel unsupported, if you feel like people want you small, quiet, predictable, I want you to know this. You're not supposed to stay where they're staying. You're not meant to repeat their story. You're not meant to live codependent and miserable just to make others feel comfortable. You're meant to rise. You're meant to grow. You're meant to believe in yourself even when nobody else does. And I'm right here, not above you, not talking at you, just walking next to you on this journey. We're growing. We're healing. We're becoming who we were always meant to be. And no one can stop that. Before we wrap this up, let me ask you something real. What part of this hit you the most today? Drop it in the comments. Not for me, but for you. Because the moment you put your truth into words, you stop hiding from your power. And if you're in that chapter of your life where you're learning to believe in yourself, especially when nobody around you claps, I want you to stay close. This is a space for people who are breaking cycles, healing old wounds, and choosing themselves for the first time. You don't have to do this alone. We're growing together here. You have a place to come back to when the world gets loud and your old doubts try to pull you back. Remember this. Your growth is not up for negotiation. Your healing is not up for debate. Your future is yours, even if nobody around you understands it yet. Until next time, be free.